I want to start off with this prefatory note, this prolegomenon, this preface, this proem, this introductory note, so we understand what's going on here. I never thought I would see this, but I have. There is a group of people, or maybe groups of people collectively, who take the Charlie Kirk assassination, TPUSA issues, Erika Kirk in terms of now leading it, Erika Kirk, perhaps maybe how her reaction to Charlie's death might be affecting fundraising and leadership and the like, and the leadership itself. Okay, that's kind of administrative. And you have the other groups who are the pro-Candace Owens or I hate Candace Owens, or the I love Erika Kirk or I can't stand Erika Kirk, for reasons, the latter being the way she looks or the way she acts, separate and distinct from how she looks, which may indicate sincerity. You following this? Okay. And they're going crazy. One group of people have said, you cannot talk about Erika Kirk because she's our girlfriend. We love her. It's almost like EDS, like Erika derangement syndrome, but positively. You know what I mean? It's this hagiography. I don't know what it is. They've elevated her to this status of I don't know what. But you cannot say anything about her, and that's all they know. That's all these people know. They're online and they're very loud and they are the most profane, but they won't tell you, well, what am I doing wrong? I don't know, but I love her and you're being mean to her. And I mean, I'm serious. That's it. Well, what am I doing wrong? It doesn't matter. Just stop it. I hate you and I want to be a part of this. And I'm not really big on the facts, but I'm going to wade into it. But this is as deep as it gets. And then you have another group of people. I hate Candace Owens or I love Candace Owens. Why do you hate Candace Owens? Because she's a grifter. That's the new word. Grifting. Also, fed slop. You notice how when something, ecosystem, how when something gets into our lexicon, our argot, our, vocabulary, our kind of urban dictionary, you get pummeled with it and then it kind of goes away. But anyway, they're coming after Candace because, I don't know, certitude or something. Who knows? But it has nothing to do with what she's saying. And no matter how careful she is in saying, look, I'm presenting this. I don't have to ask permission to ask questions about Fort Huachuca. That name. Ooh, Fort Huachuca. She has to, in their eyes, either ask permission or she's wrong. And then there are other people who love what she's saying because they love her and they love her guts. It's like, okay, I love her guts too. But there's a lot of people with guts who are wrong or whose inquiry is misplaced. I'm looking at the facts of this. And I come under this ridiculous premise that I don't have to ask anybody in the United States for permission to ask questions. I don't care. I can ask anything I want. If I want to question the moon landing or 9/11 or whether there's a God or if seed oils are bad, whatever I want to ask, I do it. And you can't tell me that I can't ask because you don't like the subject or you don't like me. Hey, that's okay. That's the way it goes. So if this subject, if for some reason you just don't want to talk about Erika, don't watch this. Go to, I don't know, because I'm not attacking her. I'm attacking, in essence, how she's destroying Charlie's legacy and how this thing posed such an incredible positive thing for those of us of our political persuasion. And I'm wondering, who benefits from that? Well, the radical left do, because Charlie was the bulwark. He was a torpedo. He was a tornado. And now he's not there anymore. And now you have these other people who are just basically trying to collect as much money as possible. And I want to use the word grift, but who don't know how to handle the post grief review. Now, my friends, Erika Kirk has become, as you know, a central public figure since the death of Charlie. And that attention did not come from sympathy or support from questions that people may have had or not been answered clearly. And the reason this matters is not gossip or cruelty, but credibility, which is very fragile in public life. And once it starts to crack, then everything that follows gets harder to manage. Remember what I'm telling you. Remember the initial aspect, what brought us to the dance. It gets harder to control and harder to manage and harder to corral and easier to doubt. And this is the context in which a lot of claims. Have you heard this about Romania and her father was an intel? I was like, look, let me get this right off the bat, okay? Let me address this. I'm not even addressing that. You go ahead and do it. Romania, orphanages, whether you're refused, a lot of this stuff has not been debunked, but there's no evidence of that. I'm not going there. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not an investigation of her as a person. This is somebody going in after the fact. It's like, oh yeah? Have you ever had a fight with somebody? Sorry to say this. And the person you're having the fight with is losing. And they'll turn to you and go, yeah. I remember when you were drunk at Christmas? It's like, what are you bringing that up for? Because I've got to win something. I'm going to bring in things that don't matter. That may be true, but are irrelevant and immaterial to what we're saying. Under the rules of evidence, they're irrelevant and immaterial. So these claims people are bringing up and other controversies should be understood whether not as proof of guilt, but as a test of how a public leader and an organization respond when trust is challenged. Okay? So that's it. So let me just say right off the bat, that doesn't interest me. Candace Owens and her past doesn't interest me. Charlie Kirk's past doesn't interest me. Mitch Snow doesn't interest me. What does their past have to do? Under the rules of evidence, in order to impeach a witness, you got to ask somebody, let's talk about this now. As an aside, give me 1 second. In court, if I were to say, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Excuse me, objection. What the hell does that have to do with anything? There are limited reasons under the rules of evidence. If it was a felony or a crime involving dishonesty or false statement, a crimen falsi, that's a different story. But the point is, even in law, we say, excuse me, this has nothing to do with this. That may be great in a magazine article, but this is a courtroom, and our focus is this. So what's happening right now is the facts remain, and they are alleged and established that on December the 8th, Erika Kirk appeared publicly in New York City, and by that point, she was no longer just a grieving widow, but the CEO and chair of TPUSA, Turning Point USA, a powerful, hugely political, big organization founded by her late husband, murdered and assassinated husband, Charlie Kirk, who was killed on September the 10th. You say 9/11 and anything even 9/11, anyway. So the less than propitious timing of this. But as you know, he was assassinated at a campus event at Utah Valley University, UVU, and within days of his death, the board of TPUSA elevated Erika to the top leadership role, saying in an open letter that this was what Charlie wanted. And whether or not that is true, the move immediately placed her at the center of political power, fundraising, media attention, and internal decision-making. And that alone guaranteed scrutiny. Okay? So far, so good. Is that fair? I think it's fair. Since then, as you can imagine, online discussion has grown, oh my God, metastatically and very intense and very rudely and very meanly and very abusively in some cases, with people revisiting her past and examining her charities and circulating claims including the allegation that she is banned from Romania. And it is important to separate what is known, what is alleged, and how the reaction to those allegations have shaped public perception. Now, let me say again, in a cursory review of Romania claims, I'm not seeing anything there. Some articles, some people have said that was debunked, it was misunderstood, she wasn't really involved in it. Let me just say right there, if you want information on Romania or Czechoslovakia or anything else for that matter, have a nice time, go for it. Tear it up. Have at it. I'm not talking about that. Again, why? Because it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to this. It's irrelevant. If you're pulled over by a cop for speeding and you say, how many people have you given a ticket to today? Who cares? And that's not what it might be interesting. Might be, but not for purposes of this. There is no evidence from what anybody's seen that she is banned from Romania, and there is no verified proof that she was involved in child trafficking, and multiple articles have cited online do not name her charity, or the Romanian Angels Project, or whatever, and timelines matter because everyday heroes like you, which Erika founded in 2006, and its Romanian Angels initiative came years after a 2001 Haaretz article about alleged organ trafficking connected to adoption agencies, and that article doesn't reference Erika, and later reporting from Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty about Romanian adults who say they were trafficked as children also does not mention her or her organization, and those facts should be stated clearly, because repeating claims without evidence is irresponsible, okay? So what I'm telling you is that when you start throwing things out, and I've seen this before, you'll mention something. Pick anybody you want. Pick a claim that is unfounded, or you like what is stated. Give an example. Nothing to do with this. We had a block party for Zoran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City. And they kept saying, they didn't even have porta potties. Those bastards didn't even have porta potties. They can't even have porta. On his inauguration piece, they said, by the way, let you know, because of safety, there's no public restrooms. And they told them. Okay, does that matter? Not if you want to blast him for not having porta potties. You see, the thing they wanted to allege was more important than anything else. The truth had nothing to do with it. Son of a bitch. But he warned you. Sorry, that ruins the narrative. You see what I'm saying? So I can just say things like, children, Romanian, child trafficking, thrown out. And people say, ooh, I like that. And say, hey, what's that smell? That smells good. What is that? And it lures you into the kitchen. Ooh, it smells. Ooh, what is that? That's what this is. And then you get there and you say, this is nothing. You've got garlic in a pan. That's it? Well, this isn't even garlic. So like I say, again, be scrupulous. This is what people keep saying. And I'm seeing it a lot on various commentators, but without explaining. Don't bring up child trafficking if you're just going to be, just mention it in passing. That's serious allegation. Stick to what we're talking about here. Remember they did the same thing with Oprah. Oprah, what about her? What about those schools? And what about Sean Penn in Haiti? And they, what about it? And that's it. What about it? That's enough. They hope that will somehow whet your appetite, and then that's all you need to know. It's like a bumper sticker versus a page. Now, at the same time all of this happened, the reason these rumors gained traction is not simply because people are malicious or ignorant, but because of how public trust works and how reactions often matter more than facts once suspicion takes hold. You see? So Erika's charity, Everyday Heroes Like You, and its Romanian Angels project were described publicly as philanthropic efforts, including partnering with the United States Marine Corps to support an orphanage in Constanta, Romania, and encouraging donors to sponsor children with holiday gifts. And Erika herself posted repeatedly from Romania between 2012 and 2014, sharing photos and messages about the children she met, and there is no public record showing Romanian authorities banning her or shutting down the project, and the charity appears to have been in good standing with the IRS through its public social media presence went quiet years ago. So on paper, this should be enough to dismiss the claim, but credibility problems rarely disappear just because a claim is false. And this is where reaction becomes the story, okay? This is what happens with Candace. People will read into what Candace is saying. So I'm going to tell you, you can think of me whatever you want. I can't help that, all right? I want you to like me because I like you. But you will find I am no bullshit when it comes to people making claims. Tell me what the facts are, whether it's Alex Jones or whether it's AOC. I've clarified more things about AOC or Ilhan Omar and, oh, she married her brother. No, there's no evidence of them. Well, because sometimes it gets in the way of the narrative. Now, Erika, as may or may not be surprised, has not directly addressed the Romanian ban rumor, and instead has spoken broadly about conspiracy theories, calling them a mind virus, and expressing anger, as you can understand, that people, she says, are monetizing attacks on her family and TPUSA. And while that emotional response is understandable, especially given grief and pressure, it is not reassured skeptics because it doesn't answer the specific questions that they are asking. And people tend to distrust silence and distraction combined with condemnation more than they distrust imperfect explanation. So what that meant is very simply this. Erika, you're not handling this right. You're not, if you're going to weigh in, make sure you say things the right way. Don't make references to these conspiracy theories and mind viruses. No, please, that doesn't. Oh, look, many folks also are not saying that Erika committed crimes or that the Romania claim is true. They're saying, by the way, I heard somebody else say that Romania, you know what it is to get thrown out of Romania? And they brought in the Tate brothers. It's like, stop it. You're just, what are you going to bring in? Romania, wasn't that Dracula? Or, I'm sorry, I'm going back to my horror film. I'm trying to think of everything. Ceausescu or, anyway. What people are saying is that the pattern of response feels kind of defensive and controlling rather than transparent. And that feeling is what drives doubt. When a leader steps into a role as CEO and public moral voice, she, as you can understand, inherits a responsibility to address questions calmly and lucidly and clearly, even unfair ones, and especially false ones, because clarity is how falsehoods die. And when leaders instead focus on, tone and policing motives or attacking the critics, causing the questions to grow. So this dynamic has been visible since Erika took over TPUSA. These are unforced errors, by the way. A lot of this was brought up by herself because of the way they were handled or not handled. And it has been amplified by the speed with which she assumed control. I mean, immediately, days after her husband's killed, she's like, boom, there she is. And anything she does, any kind of appearance, wearing lame and this with this, but it doesn't look right. And she's got to read this because that's stagecraft. Sorry. And the old expression, too soon, comes to play. So With all of this appearing on major media platforms and delivering speeches and town halls, and that Barry Weiss, oh God, Barry Weiss, are you not paying attention? And the interviews and all this while asking the public to grant grace and stop speculation, give me space, give me away. Here I am, but you can't have it both ways. Grant me grace and space and leave me alone and stop speculating. And to many folks, those two things seem rather incompatible, inconsistent, because authority invites scrutiny and grief doesn't erase that. That's it. Now, the Romania claim, again, I've been hearing more and more about this, and let me just be clear what this has to do with this. I have no idea, but that claim is a good example of how this plays out. It can be false and still damaging if left unaddressed, and when people see articles cited out of context, or perhaps incorrectly, and timelines mixed up, they want to hear a simple response. So that's a good word to you, Erika. Even though it's BS, you might want to say, look, let me just say this once and let me clarify this. That's all. It's irrelevant, but it becomes relevant by virtue of the number of people that are saying it, okay? It's important to have a response that says that this claim is false, here is why, here is the timeline, here are the independent sources, and then move on. But instead, what they often hear is that asking at all is immoral or dangerous, and that the approach feels like an attempted shutdown. It's kind of like the how dare you, how dare you. You've seen this before. Allegations of marital infidelity. How dare you ask me this? Do you believe me or your lying eyes? It just, don't give me this how dare you. That means I'm hiding something. As opposed to, okay, I'll answer your question. If I ask you right now if I accuse you of having something to do with the Kennedy assassination, many of you weren't even born then, you wouldn't say, how dare you? You'd say, no. That's it. That's the way you react. No. As opposed to, what do you mean? What do you mean? I used to have clients, I would say, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Convicted? I say, okay. All right. Convicted? All right. Got it. Illegal or unlawful? What do you mean? No. Ask yourself a question. If somebody brought up, if I said, were you actually thrown out of Bolivia and denied entrance? Think about how you would react. What? You say, what? Bolivia? No. Do you have the right No. That's the way you would react. Not, how dare you? Another conspiracy. See? Come on. This is axiomatic, my children. Now, when you have these attempts to shut down discussion, rather than resolve it, it screws things up. And another factor, by the way, is how strongly some supporters react to any questioning of Erika Kirk. And this also fuels skepticism because emotional shielding, as we're talking about, is not evidence. And telling people repeatedly that asking questions is wrong or to question a public leader because of her personal loss, it doesn't align with how public accountability has ever worked and how many people sense that and push back. Remember, if your question is about the timing of something, you can't use as a reason not to answer it the timing of the substance. See what I'm saying? Remember when Casey Anthony, remember that one? Remember when they said, you were out dancing at a party when you were out at a bar when your daughter was, how dare you ask that question? How dare you say, I'm a mother in grief. No, that's the reason why we're asking is because of the timing. I can't ask this 6 months later from now. No, the question is precisely the timing of this in view of the fact that you're a grieving mother, theoretically, and you were instead at a bar. Why does a grieving mother go to a bar? How dare you? Stop that, how dare you? Same thing with Erika. How dare you ask me this now? No, because you're on TV, you're on cable news, you're on Barry Weiss, you're on this, you're doing every conceivable spot. It's that timing. This is inappropriate. This is not what a grieving wife does. How dare you? No, you see what I'm saying? See, the anger itself that all of this brings, it becomes a signal that something is fragile and that it may be unfair, but perception drives reality in media and politics. I mean, one would think. See, there's also the issue of proportionality, which is a big theme of mine. See, viewers compare what they see to what they expect. And when messaging appears kind of polished or burnished or prepared or scripted or heavily, branded so soon after a tragedy, some people interpret it as what would you call it? To be organizational continuity. How about that? Rather than personal mourning. And again, that interpretation may be wrong, but it exists. And it grows when leaders do not acknowledge it directly. Erika has said her silence at times was about seeking justice and managing TPUSA and processing grief. And that explanation makes sense, but it still doesn't address why specific claims are not answered head on, and why critics are framed as enemies rather than citizens asking questions. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it does explain why credibility has become such a problem. Credibility is not destroyed by one rumor. It is eroded and destroyed by patterns. And in this case, critics point to inconsistent messaging, delayed clarification, delayed explanation, and delayed explication, and an aggressive reaction to just scrutiny. How dare you? And they argue that TPUSA, under Erika's leadership, has leaned toward control rather than what we would call transparency. Remember who Charlie was. Charlie was, they loved this guy. He's a public figure, a national figure. He inspired so many young people, and he's gone, and you owe them an answer. Transparency. And whether that assessment is fair or is less than fair, frankly, is less important than the fact that many people believe it because what people feel and believe and have hunches about, that shapes our engagement. And see, that's especially dangerous for a movement organization because you see, once the skeptical middle kind of disengages and disconnects, the group becomes smaller and louder and more insular and protected, and that's how influence declines. You see, the way forward is not to dismiss all criticism as conspiracy theories, but rather, I guess you would say, to shame people for asking questions. You know that? But you need to separate facts from allegations and address each other clearly. On this Romania issue, that would mean stating plainly that there is no ban, no evidence of trafficking, explaining the charity's history, proving independent confirmation if possible, and then moving on, and then saying, I've answered it. Without moral lectures. I answered it. Go back and watch it. I'm going to say this one time. Everybody pay attention. Roll tape on this, as we used to say. I'm going to say this one time. Address it. It's a good question. Let me get this out of the way. On broader issues, it would mean accepting that leadership also invites doubt, and that responding calmly builds trust faster than outrage. Erika Kirk may be and appears to be innocent of the specific claims circulating about her past and the Romanian band and all that other kind of stuff, as it appears unsupported by evidence. But the larger credibility challenge she faces is real and is being shaped less by what happened years ago and more by how she and TPUSA respond now. Okay? In public life, people don't just judge what you say. They judge how you say it, how you react, and how you react when questioned. And right now, many observers feel the reaction has been to close ranks and attack motives and sanity and whether you're a grifter or whether you're doing it for internet clicks and that usual stuff. And to demand Belief. You must believe me. Rather than to earn it. And until that changes, the rumors will continue, not because they are true, but because the environment allows them to survive. That's it. So what I want you to understand is very, very simply this. That is what's happening here right now. And let me just go back and you ask anybody else this question. If somebody asked you, if somebody said, is it true, let's assume, that you were denied entry into Italy, they revoked your passport, and you were accused of running an organ transplant team in Genoa, whatever, you would say, what? Remember that. What? What are you talking about? Did this happen? No. As opposed to, let me clear some things up about that. The trafficking allegations of me in Italy. See, even that is like, wait. That's the way you react? Or, how dare you? You and your crazy, oh, you're doing this just for clicks, right? No, that's not the way, no. If your spouse accused you of infidelity, were you over there with it? No. No. As opposed to, what do you mean? And you know, remember during the Fannie Willis thing? Oh my God. Remember Wade or whatever? Oh God, they were the worst. They couldn't answer a question because it was true. So that's that. So the bottom line is simply this. This is a fascinating issue for derivative claims and derivative issues because of something which is very important. This is more than Candace or Erika. It's about the media. It's about proof. It's about the internet. It's about these new scrums and murmurations. So that being said, thank you. Thank you for your great and kind and incredible comments. I appreciate them so much. They're wonderful. Truly, absolutely wonderful. And some are not so wonderful, but that's okay. I can take it. I also thank you for understanding the work that my wife is doing. Now, let me say something about this very quickly. I want you to see this. She's at Lynn's Warriors, okay? That's her thing. Got that? Good. And what she's doing is to try to protect children. Her. Oh my God! This morning, there was a thread she did on her X account at Lynn's_Warriors about a little girl who was, oh, I don't even want to say it. It's just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. That's Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. What I do here is my business. So what I'm saying is, I just want you to understand, there's a lot of people that I recommend and I think you should pay attention to, but we don't adopt each other's things. So if you got a beef with me, that's okay. If you got a beef with Candace, blame her, not me. You see what I'm saying? Because people just, some people just love to get mad. As you notice, I never get mad. I've been doing this for a long time. This is my 38th year doing kind of professional commentary. I don't get mad. Because there's so many issues that we have to get to. So many issues. And what we will get to ultimately, I think, is, and what Lynn's Warriors on YouTube is so important about, is how to protect children. Because we pay a lot of lip service to protecting kids, but we don't do anything. Legislation, Congress, we love to talk about it, but we don't do anything. We just, so keep that in mind. I am a very, very, very simple person. I'm here to represent the opposition. Whatever the majority is saying, I'm the opposite, because you will never find solace in the majority. There's something wrong with that. Because if you don't find something to disagree with, you're not paying attention. And that goes sometimes for people who are on the same side that we are. In any event, thank you for watching. Please like the video. I appreciate that immensely. You know how that works. Please subscribe to the channel, which is very important. Very important. You know, 70% or so of the people who watch us don't subscribe. I don't know why. Please, I said what I like. Oh, hit the little bell so you're notified of live streams. Oh, and more importantly, as I say, which is more critical, comment as you see fit. Your comments are incredible. I'm saying this just in case you just tuned in for the first time. For years, I never read any of my comments. Never. Because they were like awful. They were just like, what do you, these people hate me, you know, but they didn't even know I said anything. But now I'm thinking, well, let me wade into this. And they're brilliant. Your analysis, your take is, and your support and your statements. Sometimes it's like graffiti. Sometimes it's more thought out. In any event, comment. And I've got some questions for you. Comment as you see fit.